Don't do that. Hi! Guess what? We're live. Okay. Welcome. So, this is the second broadcast of what is this? What Wild
Wild Wednesday.
Night Wednesday. And I'm here with my co-host Joyce. And we are looking for guests. So if anybody sees us back, we're looking for a guest. And the topics, well, topics are whatever we want to talk about at a specific time. So I am getting some feedback off of you, Joyce, but it's not too bad. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so tonight I thought we'd go into um how we've tried to stay healthy, for myself included, especially since I've been a very large woman most of my life. And so I want to talk about how I've tried to stay healthy exercise wise on this journey of mine. And so we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to talk about manifesting. How can we manifest the life that we want? So we're going to go into that. So, welcome, Joyce. Unmute yourself.
I'm going to unmute myself. Hi, Heidi. Thank you so much for having me. It's really good to be here. Yeah, I can, all of us have been on a journey of some sort with dealing with health, whether it be our weight or some other issue. And thankfully, there's natural ways that we can deal with these things. So, Heidi, why don't you tell us what you have done to go ahead and maintain your health through yoga?
Actually, I was going to start at the beginning. Um, back
It's a very good
growing,
place to start.
yeah, I was going to start with growing up. I grew up on a dairy farm. Um, so basically, I was active from the get go. We spent a lot of times outdoors. That's where I was first introduced to the earth by my grandmother, both my grandmothers, but it was basically my maternal grandmother's farm that I grew up on. And so very active. She rented ponies for us. So we were outdoors. I think we were outdoors more than we were even in the wintertime. I live in New England, so it's definitely, we had snow in the winter, but we were always out. So we had horses. So I had that for activity. We played game. We walked in the woods. That was something we always did. So even then I was a little bit heavy. In retrospect, I was not that bad, but the culture, we live in a thin is better culture, which is not, I would say, is not necessarily true. My mother, who is 88 years old, um, has maintained a perfect weight for her. I would say around 200 pounds, which would be considered not healthy, bunch of bull. Um, that for her, that was perfect. My great grandmother was 300 plus pounds when she passed in her 90s. So health is not, and weight are not really relative. It's basically, in my experience, it's basically how you care for yourself. Are you active? Are you getting good nutrition? So in that time, so that's how I grew up. So I grew up and I had a horse when I was in my teens. So I rode into my early 20s, and definitely my weight bloomed, but I was always moving. I was never static. And then, life continued, we bicycled, we did all kinds of things like that. And then later in life, I had issues like everybody else. I had musculoskeletal issues. I had problems with my back in retrospect. It has a lot to do with emotions and that connection, which I'm realizing. So, a lot of issues there, some falls, some incidents, accidents, falling off a horse, things like that, comes with the territory when you're an active person, right? Those things happen. And so after that, I got into belly dance, and I belly danced for 4 years, and I totally loved it. I do some shoulder, I really loved it, and I enjoyed it. And we did a little bit of yoga when in the belly dance. We would always warm up, and we get on the floor. I could do that at that time, and we would do a little bit of yoga. So life passed, things gonna happen, and the weight was ballooning. I was up and I was down, and then within the past, it would more than 10 years ago, I decided to do a retreat after I worked at Wise Ways Herbals for a while, and so I got to know some people, and so I got to know Sierra Benda, and so I decided to do a workshop she was doing at Kripalu, which is a yoga institute in Western Massachusetts, not too far from where I live. So I did that workshop, and it was really amazing. And at that time, I could get on the floor very well, somewhat. It wasn't that easy, but I could do it if I had to. I probably could do it now, but it's not that easy. So she did some free workshops last year, and I was waiting for her to do a paid workshop, because I believe people should be paid. So with everything that's going on, so I was waiting for her, and then I was watching. I don't know if I even wanted to say her name, because her channel just got taken off of YouTube, and she was one of the founding members, basically, of YouTube. But anyway, she was being interviewed by Guru Jagat of Rama Institute. And I don't know what it was. It was just something about her energy that drew me. And I said, well, I got to check this place out, because she was very contemporary, very up on esoteric things, very up on alternative news, wasn't into the mainstream. And that really intrigued me. That drew me in more than that. And I was like, well, I'm going to check this place out. And so I checked into it, and they do Kundalini yoga through the internet. Of course, you're not supposed to be any state I'm in California, where they're at, in New York, where their other studio is, can't be there in person, because everybody's afraid of their own. I grew up I just need to add this as a caveat. I grew up on a dairy farm. We played in the cow poop, and I am very proud of that fact. And
Yeah, I just want to add that Randy used to play in the cow pounds back in Tennessee, where he grew up, where the cows would go into the ponds. And of course, we know that they're just not taking a bath and other things.
Right, exactly. So
good bacteria.
Exactly. And now everybody's literally afraid of their own shit, and I mean, it's ridiculous. So anyway, I got involved. I decided to get involved in Rama. And so, okay, yeah, I can't, these people, they are doing crazy stuff. Let me tell you, they're doing headstands and put their heads over. But what I like about it is also has meditation. It's Kundalini yoga. So it also has meditation involved. And if you can't do a posture, you can practice the breath. Because breathing, we know, is number one important. If you don't get any oxygen in your body, you're not living. It's just not.
I want to say, too, that 20% of the oxygen that's in our lungs is stagnant because we're not breathing properly. We're not doing it deep.
Exactly. Which I also learned when I learned how to really properly breathe when I took singing lessons. I took singing lessons, and that really teaches you how to breathe from your belly or your diaphragm, so that, so that's what I liked about it. And being that I've had challenges in my life, I realized there's other ways to do things. If you can't sit cross-legged on the floor, does not mean you can't do Kundalini yoga. If you got a bad back, it doesn't mean you can't do Kundalini yoga. You're going to modify as best as you can. If they're doing a posture for 11 minutes, start at 5 seconds. Can you do that? Well, maybe you can. So that's where you start. And so that's what I've been doing. And I find it, I love the meditation part about it. And some of the meditations are with posture. And I'm just really, it's different than what Sierra did. She's also into the 4-Fit body method, which is using the elements, earth, air, fire, and water, and earth, which is, anybody knows me, that's how I read tarot. That's what I get into when I do tarot. That's how I see tarot, is through the elements. And so that's how I got into that. It was kind of crazy listening to alternative media, alternative people, that I found that. And it's not easy, because I find myself going through, I'm also in my Saturn return, which means that stuff is coming up for me. It's been very difficult. I'm going through a lot of the injuries that I've had in the past 50 years. They seem to be showing up, and it's kind of like a revisit, really heal them, because like I said, injuries are physical, yes, but lots of times they have an emotional attachment to them. Always injuring my right leg when it's time for me to take a leap forward, that when I'm supposed to do something exciting, like I was supposed to go to New York City with a group of people a few years back, and I injured my foot, my right leg. So it's always something that holds me back, and that was emotional, because it was too scary for me to do at that time. I was not really physically and emotionally prepared for that. So I manufactured an injury. I did that when I went to Kopala. I twisted my ankle just 3 or 4 days before I went to Kopala, but I went. I made myself go, even though I was, limping a little bit, I made myself go. So, like I said, injuries are, in my experience, I'm talking my experience only, sometimes because there's something emotionally attached to it. So I am going through a lot, I'm finding, with that. So,
But it's just not emotions. It's past trauma too. That trauma stays in our body, and an injury can be traumatic, and the body remembers it. So just like,
yes.
if we smell something, we have an association with it. If we smell cinnamon, we might associate Christmas with it. Or we smell apples, we associate apple pie. But if we smell something that was present when we had a traumatic experience, that also triggers that, and that can hinder us.
Yeah, I've had like each injury, and I've had a lot this in the last 3 months, that I've gone through has brought up memories of other times where I've had similar injuries. Like, for example, I walked into the wall, and I had done something similar, and that brought up issues that happened at that time. And I realize now what that was tied with, that issue, what that shoulder was. And it was the exact same shoulder, different spot in the house, but it was, kind of the same idea. The first time it happened, I froze my shoulder. And so I went through everything that happened, or not went through, but I remembered everything that happened when I froze that shoulder up the first time, and where it had happened when the shoulder froze up. It didn't this time, thank goodness. But, I was revisiting that and the issues around that, and probably why that had happened, because there was a specific place in the house that something traumatic had happened to me. And I think it was a way of processing some of that trauma that happened in that spot, which I won't, it's very personal. I won't go into that. So that's what I've done. I've always kept active. I've always moved. Even when I injured my back severely, I was counting telephone poles. Now, can I make it to this? Can I walk to the next telephone pole? Can I make it to the next telephone pole? It was always a goal. And I'm going to let Joyce go on about her experience about movement. It was always, the next goal was the next telephone pole. And that will tie into manifesting when we get to that part. Joyce.
I think that's an excellent point that you made about, going, okay, can I get to this telephone pole? Can I get to this point? Can I get to this point? And that's what we have to do. That's what I teach people when I mentor them or I speak about natural living is it's baby steps. You can't expect it. We had to learn how to crawl. We had to learn how to walk. And it's the same thing with natural living. It's baby steps. You have to first start somewhere and set a goal for yourself. For me, I've gone on walks and it would be like, okay, I'm going to go to this mailbox, and you're about the polls. I'm about mailboxes. Okay. I'm going to go to this mailbox. I'm going to go to that mailbox, and if you don't make it to where you want to go, that's okay, because tomorrow's another day and you can go ahead and start again. And I can relate to you, Heidi, as far as when I was, it's really funny because during the time when we were being raised, we were outdoors, we were active. I was raised in Chicago, and in Chicago we have blocks, and I lived on a very long block, and there was a lot of children on there. In the summertime, during the day, we'd be playing kickball in the street, and at night we'd be playing something else, and I would want to go in the house to get a drink, and I was afraid to, because I was afraid my mom was going to say, "Oh, hey, you got to come in," and I'd be like, "No, no, 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 I'm going back out. I'm going to go play some more," But even though that I was so active as when I was younger, I did get extra weight on me. And, unfortunately, when I would try to do anything about it, I had an older brother who used to oink at me and moo at me. And it discouraged me, because I was like, right. And that's the thing. We can't let people hold us back. And finally, I had gotten into my teens and I started doing things to trim down my body. And, this too is like Heidi said, exercise isn't all about the physical appearance. There's so much for women. It helps to create hormones naturally for us. So that's great for premenopausal women or women who are in menopause, that you want to create those hormones naturally. If you're taking any kind of supplement, even if it's a herb that mimics a hormone, your body goes, oh, wait, I don't need to do this because she already has enough of that. So exercise is a really good way, whether it be yoga or anything that you decide to do. And that's one thing I want to say too. You have to find something that you like to do, because if you don't like to do it, you're not going to. So whether it be riding a bike, if it be taking a walk,
Joyce, I don't mean to interrupt here, but I want to know, what did you do? You're kind of telling us what people should do. I want to know what you did. What was what did you do as you exercise? What kept you moving? What kept you motivated?
A lot of the exercise that I had did actually released stress. I love Tae Bo. I love doing the Tae Bo. I love being able to punch and being able to kick. It's a stress releaser for me. It makes me feel good. I have tried yoga, and you know what? That down dog can freaking just stay down. I do like the warrior pose. It's a great stretch. And one thing I want to say about yoga too, before I go back to what I have done, is that yoga, not only are we creating neurotransmitters and hormones, but it also actually is massaging your internal organs, and we're raising our vibrational frequency. So another thing that I was doing, I did a lot of step. See, but a lot of the things that I was doing, I had already been exercising for a while, working out for a while, and I upped my game. But I like to do things where that incorporates my full body, so that I'm just not like working my arms. So I'm working my arms and my legs at the same time, and I'm getting cardio out of it. But the thing is that you have to start somewhere. You have to start somewhere, and you could always modify. So say, for instance, when I first started out and they were doing like, get your knees up to your chest, and it was like, I can't do that. Or like you were talking, Heidi, for a certain amount of time. Well, if I couldn't complete it for that amount of time, I would just walk in place until I regained my composure, and then I would go back into it again. So don't feel like you have to complete something right away. Your body will slowly build up a tolerance, and they'll be able to handle the endurance, give you the endurance that you need. But, one thing I want to say is find something you enjoy doing, because if you don't enjoy doing it, you're not going to do it. My daughter hoops. I was hoping that she was going to be on this call tonight, but I didn't think to let her in on it. But yeah, she hoops, and that for her, that worked for her. She enjoyed it. She had fun, and you have to do what works for you.
Was she hoops? Do you mean like hula hoops, or
Yeah.
like we did back in the 60s, late early 70s? We
Yeah,
used to do
but
the hula hoops.
yeah, but the thing is that now it's been like reinvented to where it is a form of exercise. You could get weighted hula hoops. You could get custom made hula hoops. So she had a weighted hula hoop and a custom made hula hoop. And she used that to trim herself down and to feel better about herself. But again, it's not all about the body. It's about the neurotransmitters and the hormones that we need to have good overall health. So let's not focus on how we look. How do you feel? Do you feel good? Because that's the important thing. Do you have energy, to get out of bed in the morning, to do the things you want to do? That's what's important. Like Heidi said, there's many people who are thin, but they're not necessarily healthy. They might be eating the wrong foods. They might not be exercising. They might not be doing what they need to do to actually take care of their body. Taking care of your body is the most important thing. It's not about what you look like.
Nope. Nope, it's not. So yeah, thank you for that.
So Heidi, I had mentioned my brother making fun of me, and I know
Yes, you did.
you have two sisters, and I know you went through that too. And that's hard when it's family.
It
On
is.
a day-to-day basis, sitting there shutting
Mm,
you down. It's also discouraging.
it's very difficult, but it's something I feel like I put behind me. It's kind of weird. We get along now. I was because we're seeing things in the world the same way. So it's very bizarre. But it is, oh, I didn't just get it from family. I got it from my peers, classmates, I was ridiculed all the time, my last name's Feather, for those that don't know. So it was Heidi Fat Feather, things like that. And it was very tormenting. But I've long past that. I had to look inside myself. I had to figure out who I am and say to hell with it. One of my moments was when I went swimming with friends, and I was swimming in my jeans because I didn't want to show my body because of all the negative comments I got. And I finally just said, and I was in my 20s then, and I said, F this. I'm not doing this for myself. It sucks swimming in jeans. It's difficult. Have you tried to swim in jeans? It sucks, especially when you get out of the water. I'm like, who am I doing? This is not doing me any good. I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it for the person that has issues with themselves that they can't handle looking at a larger person. It's their issue. It's not my issue. It's their issue.
But it's not just a matter of them having issues. It's a matter of them.
Society.
It's society and just not accepting. And that's one thing I want to say too, is because I have two children who do have extra weight on them. We do not use that word because it's I've heard that all my life, and it's an ugly word. We don't say it. We don't say morbidly obese because that's not nice. And the thing is you don't know what somebody's going through. You don't know why they have extra weight on it. People look at people and they go, "Oh, well, you're bigger, so you must eat a whole lot. You must just sit around the TV all the time." And that is not true. People have extra weight on them for different reasons. My daughter, hers is hormones. My son is that he doesn't chew appropriately and he doesn't do any exercise, and that's a fact. I had a friend of mine back in Tennessee. She had a son who was missing the part of his brain that told him he was full. So they had to put locks on the doors and the refrigerator. They got up one time and he was sitting on the floor eating flour. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I've heard of that disorder. Yeah.
And even medications too. Just let me finish into it. I'm gonna let you go. Even medications. I talked to somebody else who was on some sort of a pharmaceutical drug, and because of that, she had gained weight, and she had done everything she could to try to take it off, changing her eating habits, exercising, and nothing worked. So people, don't sit out there and look at somebody and be like, "Oh, well, you're like this, so this is how things must be," because it's not. We need to have some compassion and empathy for people and be like, okay, what are they struggling with? What are they going through? And that's in anything in life. It just doesn't have to do with weight. It's anything.
Well, I wanted to. Okay, where did my mind go? Okay. I've never been shy about talking about myself and how I've struggled my entire life with everything. There's a lot of predisposition. There's a lot of it's a very complex subject, and sometimes it has nothing to do at all. Most of the time, it has nothing to do with food. But then, on the other hand, most of our food is denatured. There's not a lot of energy in our food, so you're not going to get energy from it anyway. So, what worked for me, and it doesn't necessarily work for everybody, but okay, a little intro came off my laptop. So, yeah, so, and like I said, 99% of the time it has nothing to do with what you're eating, but the caveat is what is the quality of your food that you're eating? Most people do not have a good quality of food at all today. This is a known fact. Greetings, Pepper Jackie. I'm so glad you could join us. So I was a vegetarian. It worked for me for a while, but it really was not doing that much for me. The weight came back. But I found keto. After doing a lot of prayers, I was like, I accept myself. I love myself as I am. I will go to my grave this way if that is my path. And then I found keto. And I hardly eat at all. I have 2 meals a day some days. Sometimes I have a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but it has totally changed my life. And basically, it's a high-fat diet. So everybody's, good fats, meat, good fat, bacon, butter.
Avocado.
Avocado and I do not get along well at all.
No, me too. But Randy eats it. Yeah, my husband puts avocado in his oatmeal.
Well, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just we don't jive. It's like me and bananas. We just don't get along. So finding that was a godsend. And addressing that, Pepper Jackie, I actually spend less money because I am not eating a lot of junk food. That's where you're going to spend your money, right? You're going to pay a little bit more, okay? You're going to pay $10 a pound for good meat, but you're not going to sit down and eat the whole thing. You're going to get at least 4 servings out of that meat, along with some vegetables, right?
Well, and that's the thing. That's the thing too, is that people think that yes, organic is more expensive, but you're eating less. So as far as I'm concerned, it balances out.
Exactly.
Because before I went organic, I was eating more food, and I'm going, why am I hungry all the time?
Yep.
You know,
Yeah, and then that was so when I was a vegetarian, I was not, my ancestors ate meat. They also ate potatoes, which is not on keto. But I have some potato chips and potato once in a while. So that's something like, look at what were your ancestors eating? Did your ancestors come from Europe, Africa, or Asia? That will give you a good clue of what's really what you should be eating. And people tell me I'm crazy, but I have raw dairy every day, raw milk. Hello. I mean, it works for me, but it's also what my ancestors ate. That's what, and like I said, they weren't small. They weren't small people. In the beginning of my mother's not a small people. So I know my dad wasn't a small person, nor was his mother. We're all made in different shapes and sizes. We're not just one person. That's
we're not the box.
Yeah.
I want to reply to Pepper Jack. I'm sorry. Pepper Jack had mentioned she had turkey bacon. My husband, we were eating a lot of bacon. Be careful with the nitrates and what else is a Heidi that's in there? It's nitrates and another N word. Nitrate and there's
you're better off with the real bacon. You're better off with the real bacon without the nitrates and all the additives and they also put sugar in bacon. Sugar is hidden in everything. So one thing you don't eat on keto is sugar. And if you look at the labels, I was shocked that sugar was in bacon. I couldn't believe it. And most bacons in most supermarkets, you're going to find sugar in your bacon. And you don't want sugar.
You're right. It isn't everything. When I was pregnant with my boys, both times I had gestational diabetes. So I had to watch the sugar. And it's like I looked at like crackers, saltine crackers, sugar. It's everything has sugar in it. And one of the biggest
ketchup.
One of the biggest problems with sugar is that if you have any type of cancer cells in your body, it's going to go ahead and it's going to feed off of that sugar. Cancer loves sugar. So
you mean the sign cancer, the zodiac sign cancer, right?
I guess so. My daughter's a Cancer.
Yes, but that was even when I got into vegetarian, I gave it the sugars, but I was the vegetarian I was eating loads of carb, which was all right if I was Asian, but I don't believe I have any Asian in my body. So my ancestors weren't eating rice and all that stuff. So yeah, I found that getting off the sugar, I got off the sugar. This is personally what I did. I got off the sugar. I got off the Coke. No sodas. No sodas at all. I got off of that. Nothing like that. Yeah, help me out here, Joyce.
I love sugar. And I did give up soda because of the high fructose corn syrup that's in it.
That's
and the
what
fact
it is.
that and the fact that our bodies does not recognize the DNA in it. So when I researched the high fructose corn syrup, I quit pop because I used to drink a 2-liter bottle of pop every single day. But now I found one that has cane sugar in it, and it's a treat for me. I don't drink it all the time, but I do like my sugar. I like my chocolate.
I think everybody, but for like my sweetener, I get from when I make my shake in the morning with my raw milk, I freeze it up so it's almost like an ice cream treat. I'll freeze up the raw milk and I put cocoa powder in it. But the sweetener is blueberries. So I have blueberries every day. They're frozen blueberries. I'm in New England. They're growing in Maine. So that's what sweetens it. Now I do have a treat every holiday. I've I shared a small pie with my mom. Yes, it had some sugar, but for the most part, I got her cookies the other day and I took a bite. It was a peanut butter cookie. You couldn't taste the peanut butter. It tasted like sugar. I had to spit it out. I couldn't eat it. I'm like, this is disgusting. And so once you get away from that, you realize people eat this stuff. I mean, the pies I get are
My
homemade.
daughter,
You can actually taste the apple in the apple pie, but usually they just throw so much sugar in there that you can't even taste the peanut. You couldn't taste the peanut butter. You can't, you can't taste. It's really what makes me want to vomit now. That's how bad I am averse to sugar.
my daughter had went on this plan that she was on to where she was not eating any sugar, and she even her fruit was very limited. Like blueberries was one thing that she could eat unlimited. She said she had a strawberry, and she was like, I never realized how sweet strawberries really were
Mm-hmm.
until she did away with it. And that's like you're talking to, that's like when I changed my eating habits, like getting away from fast food, which is the worst thing we can do. And I remember my boys had gotten a hamburger from Burger King, and I was like, oh gosh, I remember how good this used to taste. And I'd ask them, I would say, can I just get a little bite off of that? And I would taste it and I'd be like, oh, this is horrible. What? Why did I ever eat this? Why did I want this? And that's the thing too, is that, they really started modifying the food supply back like in 1995, I believe it was. And when we switched to organic, we were like, oh my gosh, mayonnaise. It tasted the way it did when I was growing up. Butter,
Mm-hmm.
the way it did when I was growing up. And it had that, a deeper yellow color to it. Free range eggs, organic free range, that the shell's a lot harder. You got the deep orange yolk to it. The flavor,
Mm-hmm.
just everything tastes so much better. I know when organic first came out, I thought it was like a hippy dippy thing, like eat granola all the time. And
Well, it's kind of going back to the way food was really grown back in the
yes,
day, before
yes,
the herbicides and the pesticides and all that crap was introduced. So, yeah. So, unfortunately, I think you got to bless your food too. I find that being very grateful and thanking, especially, it's not easy for me to go back to eating from animals because I love animals, but I also was very realistic growing up on a dairy farm, knowing full well the cycle of life, that we live in a cynical world. And so to me, I want to honor that. That's why, I try to find the best that I can, and that the animals are the raised the best to the ability of that. And I visited the farm where my milk comes from, and they do pretty good, pretty good job. I would just say perfect. Was it like my grandfather's farm? No, but were they doing a lot better than factory farming? 100-fold, yeah, 100-fold, yeah. You know, yeah. So knowing where your food is coming from is so important. Like I said, issues sometimes have nothing to do with what you eat, but what you are eating can affect your issues. It can affect your emotions. It can affect, it can put you to sleep. So you're not even aware of what's going on.
I'm curious because Pepper Jackie said that the bacon she has no sugar, so I'm curious to know what brand it was that she bought. And
Yeah, and plus, for
was
me, it has no fat in it, and our bodies need to ingest fat. They're called essential fatty acids. This is a known
right.
scientific
The problem I
fact.
have with pork is that most pork you cannot get it organic. It's hard to find organic,
I
but
have no issue
I
finding
do
it
love
here.
bacon. We ate turkey bacon for a long time, and that's why I'm curious to know what brand. I'm also curious to know if Aldi is carrying any kind of organic stuff at all. I'd be curious to know that too. So
If worth carrying,
Pepper Jackie, if you're still with us, if you can,
I think she left.
yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. So do we want to go in? We've got about 15 minutes left. Do we want to talk a little about manifesting, or do we want to save that for another time and just kind of talk about what you personally you have talked personally about what you do for that you eat all organic and you eat meat, right?
Yeah, I eat meat, but another thing that we do is because even eating organic, or the soil has been so depleted of its natural microbiome that we're not fully getting all the nutrients that we need. So we do need to supplement, and it's something that I'm not happy about. It's like, taking these supplements. It's like, oh, I gotta go take my supplements because I'm not getting enough zinc, I'm not getting enough magnesium, I'm not getting enough vitamin D because I'm not out in the sun enough. I don't have this, I don't have that. So, that's another issue too, with the way society is these days. And we have all these electronic devices to make our lives easier, but it's also put us to a slump to where I know, because I have a home-based business, a lot of my time is spent on the computer. A lot of my time is spent sitting down. And that's why, Heidi, I listened to your Tarot Tuesday yesterday, I think it was. No, today. And I was
Yesterday.
was
Today's Wednesday.
but I think I listened to it today though. I know you
Oh,
did.
okay, gotcha.
I believe I listened to it today. And
Oh,
I was, yes, I need to move. I need to move. There was a point when, even though I was working from home, I would make a conscious decision to like get up and do some jumpy jacks. Get up,
Yep.
or Randy and I will go for a walk. But because it's been so windy and like the pollen has been so horrible here, it's been like irritating me. So I've been like putting off going on walks. But yeah, you were so right, and the cards are so right. We do need to move because our society is so like planted in chairs. They're calling sitting the new smoking.
Oh, it makes sense. You're not, our bodies were made to move. We were
Yeah.
not made to be static.
No.
And the less you move, the more stiff you get and anything. I wanted to go back. You talked about taking supplements, and that's something I'm not really into. My body is not, it rejects it. It just, I can't do it. Basically it's like, oh, it kind of, it's a weird it's hard to describe, but it just, I can't keep up with it. Something my body says no. So the only thing I eat is kelp, which is a natural, is from the oceans, from Mother Earth, and it's loaded with minerals, vitamins, and everything. And I've just recently got back into doing some infusions, which I had learned about and I did for a long time, getting back to, which is minerals and vitamins in the plant material. Maybe sometime we'll talk about herbalism, because I am a certified herbalist in therapeutic herbalism through Blazing Star Herbal School. And I also worked at Wise Way Herbals, which is an herbal preparation place, for 2 years. So it's something I am very well versed in and is one of my first loves. But so I find that doesn't work for me. It's very, my body's just says this synthetic. I think it realizes it's synthetic, and it just says, I'm not into this. So I have to look for
Oh, no, 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 no. I'm
natural
not talking. I'm not talking about.
supplementation.
No, the supplements I'm talking about are herbs. They are from nature. They're from the ground. I would never. I don't shop at CVS or Walgreens or any of those places. I'm talking herbs. So you're looking at moringa,
I've even,
turmeric.
yeah, I've even tried those that are supposedly plant-based, but they're in a pill form. It's the same. It's the same thing. My body doesn't recognize it, but it recognizes the seaweed. It almost craves that at times. And I realize I'm not getting quite enough. I just looked at the dosage, and I'm not really getting enough. I probably need a lot more than I realize. But it's so full of everything that your body needs.
But see, that's the thing too, Heidi, is just like with exercising and how we're all different, or even food and how we're all different. It's with supplements too.
Yeah, exactly. It just doesn't.
Because
It's like avocado doesn't work.
right. But
Not
Randy's
that I
body loves
don't
it.
like it. It's just is my body says, I'm not really happy with this food.
Right.
It's not doing
I
anything.
agree. But also not all the supplements I take are capsules. I have some that are powders, and I'll drink tea, maybe hibiscus tea or chai tea, and I'll go ahead and I'll mix it in with my tea. So, but again, we are all different. What you
And I did find one I liked, and I used it for a long time. That was plant based and everything. It got discontinued. So
well, yeah, it was too good.
most likely it was. It was very good, and because I knew right away that my body was, oh, I like this. Give me more. And then they started playing with the formula, changing the formula, and then all of a sudden changing the name, and then all of a sudden, oh, you can't get it anymore. So, and then they started adding additives that I'm like, no, my body won't go for that additive. So, I mean, I'm talking like colors and sugars or sweeteners, and it's like, I don't need sweeteners. I don't care if it's stevia, whatever, honey, maple syrup. I don't need it. At least maple syrup has some value to it because it is loaded with minerals. The
Right.
vitamins get steamed off, but it is a mineral rich.
Well, not if you get it raw.
Maple syrup. Yeah.
I don't know about you, but oh, maple syrup. I'm sorry, I was thinking honey.
Well, honey has good properties too, but it's still a sweetener. You can get good honey, and we used to boil maple syrup back on the farm, so that's why I know a lot about that, and I know that you're boiling off water content. The vitamins boil off in the steam, but you're left with the minerals from the maple tree because they're full of sap feeds the maple trees. So.
Well, that's just like with the pasteurized
basically.
milk. It's taking out important enzymes that
Yeah.
we need. The bacteria, and people think bacteria, they think it's a bad thing. Bacteria is not a bad thing. We actually have more bacteria in our on our bodies than we do human cells.
Yep. Bacteria is everywhere, and we would not be alive if it wasn't for bacteria. That's
right.
That's
We need bacteria.
We need it. It's when it gets out of control that it can be an issue. With something's off emotionally, something's off with your diet, something's off in your environment. Basically your environment that surrounds you. It can be anything like that's off a little bit. Electromagnetic field has been crazy lately, so anything can throw things off a bit. But yeah, that's why my grandmother told us to go out and play in the top loop, because she felt it was a good thing for us to do,
And it was.
And it was, because that helps build the immune system.
Yes.
So, and that's the, because at the end of the day, we can give advice. We can get advice from other people, but at the end of the day, it all comes back to us. What feels right for us, what works for us, because what works for you may not work for me. We all have a different biome, and it's constantly changing. It's never static. Just like exercise, we were not meant to be static. We were meant to move. We were meant, and that's the same with our bodies. They're not static. They're constantly changing. We're always getting new cells. We're always shedding cells. We're always shedding skin. That's normal. We're leaving our DNA all over the place. We're picking up other people's DNA all over the place. It's yeah. Well, we do that. Something we do in yoga. It's
DNA.
yes, yes. We're throwing it off as we're walking down the street, and you can't get away from it. It's totally out there. I'm sorry to inform you, people. Nothing's going to protect you from other people's DNA. Nothing.
Or bacteria.
Or bacteria. This is true.
And actually,
is what works for you. What be as healthy as you can. Move. Eat the best diet for you. You know, but
listen
I
to your
think
body.
yep. I think to wrap up, we both can agree. Exercise any way, shape, or form. Whether you're sitting at a desk and all you can do is put your legs up and down, march in a chair, clap your hands, do this Kriya. I wish I knew what it was called. Wahe Guru, you know, like to do that
Feels
stuff.
good.
Oh, it feels great. You know, whatever. So I think we can agree on that. And we also can agree on there are certain foods you should really, really give serious consideration. Is that when I was in herbalism and we were studying herbalism, we took several plants and we studied, and one of them was sugar, one of them was chocolate, one of them was marijuana. And actually sugar back in the day when it was first refined from sugarcane, because sugarcane and the first stream of molasses is not bad in itself. It's a refining. And sugar was something that was reserved for very special times, and it was kept in the cupboards because people would go loco, go kind of nuts if they got too much of it. So they knew back when it first came out. This is historic fact. I don't know if you'd find it on the eyeball thingies, but you know, but you can find out that information if you want to dig about that. And then chocolate, the amazing properties, and even like I said, the raw sugar cane has amazing properties, and we could go into that on herbalism if we wanted to someday. And so you think of, you know, refined is not really, you know, your body doesn't recognize it. This one thing I like to say. I you know, grew up on a farm, grew up with horses, and I've studied horse nutrition. You cannot change. You've domesticated the horse, but you have not changed their internal gastrointestinal tract. It is still the same as a wild horse. And what happens is horses are prone to colic, which means, and they can't upchuck. Okay. And they're prone to colic because we've taken them out of pastures and put them into stalls and feeding them hay where they don't move all day. And then they're supposed to move on the weekends. And this makes them get sick. So it's the same with people. We have become domesticated. We've eaten, but we have never, our gastrointestinal tract is most healthy when we're closer to our natural state. That was a nice view, Joyce. And
I'm
so I'll let
sorry.
you wrap up too.
I'm on Randy's computer and it's telling me that the battery's getting low. And
well, I'll let you wrap up and we'll shut off anyway because it's almost been an hour.
Okay. Yeah, what I wanted to say is not only when you're about the sugar, it's like these days a lot of the sugar that they're using as sugar is either high fructose corn syrup or it's beet sugar, and both of those are highly genetically modified. If I can
refined, this is to refine until there's no nutritional value in it at all.
No.
Basically.
No, and again, our body recognizes DNA.
Excuse me.
Bless you. It's
Thank
going.
you.
What the heck are you giving me?
Yeah, exactly.
What am I supposed to do with this? I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
I'll just go ahead and store it in some fat cells.
Yeah, it doesn't. It really doesn't. If it has no nutritional value, it really doesn't know what to do with it. No, this is true.
No.
So, well, this is a really interesting conversation as always. Anything else you want to add?
I need to go visit another room, and then I'm going to call you real quick.
Oh, okay. I'm going to end the broadcast after that. Okay. Sounds like a plan.
Okay.
I hope that somebody gets to the end of this. I hope you get something out of it. If you do listen to this in the future, please leave a comment below, and this will hopefully be coming a podcast series in the near future.
You know what? I would like to not just only hear positive comments. You know, if you have something negative, let us know, because then this way we can go ahead and we can fix things and make things better for you.